Today, we're going to dig into a film from 1995 that, for a lot of people, was a pretty profound experience. It's a science fantasy drama called Powder. And honestly, it's one of those overlooked gems that asks some really big questions about who we are and, maybe more importantly, who we could be. So let's just jump right in with the question that sits at the very heart of this movie. What if our greatest powers had nothing to do with strength or smarts? What if they were something you couldn't even see? That's the idea Powder wants you to wrestle with. Yeah, you could definitely call this a forgotten vision. It's often called a hidden gem from that era of 90s spiritual cinema. And while sure, it has some science fantasy stuff going on, its real punch comes from this deep, symbolic message about connection, empathy, and what it even means to be human. All right, so let's get into the story itself. It's all about a character who is, and I'm not exaggerating, one of the most unique protagonists you will ever see in a film. His name is Jeremy Reed, but everyone just calls him Powder. And Powder is, well, he's a lot. His albinism makes him look different on the outside, sure. But on the inside, he's like a whole other kind of human being. We're talking a mind that's off the charts brilliance and these incredible powers that just completely defy science as we know it. And right there, that's the central conflict of the whole movie. What happens when you take someone that advanced, that different, and you drop him into a world that is terrified of anything it can't easily put in a box? His entry into our world is just sudden and harsh. He's been kept in a basement his whole life, completely isolated. Then he's discovered, and authorities try to make him integrate. And of course, that leads to instant fear, bullying, misunderstanding. But, and this is so key, it also leads to these incredible moments of connection with the very few people who are brave enough to see past his appearance. But look, to really understand Powder, you have to look beyond the cool sci-fi stuff, the telepathy and controlling electricity. The reason this movie sticks with people is because of its deeper themes. And honestly, they might be even more relevant now than they were back in '95. The whole film is basically built on these four big ideas. It's using this fantastical story to ask real questions about our own potential, about what it feels like to be an outsider, about the incredible power of empathy, and about that really interesting place where science and spirituality kind of start to overlap. Now, that quote almost always points to one scene in particular, the deer scene. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's this hunter, he's making fun of Powder, and Powder's response is to make the hunter feel, really feel, the pain and terror of the deer he just shot. It's this moment of radical, forced empathy that just completely shatters the guy's reality. And that's where you start to see the deeper symbolism. A lot of people see Powder as this Christ-like figure. He's persecuted because he's different, he's misunderstood, but his entire being is basically a message about a higher level of consciousness, one that's built on love and the idea that we are all connected. So what did people think when it came out? Well, it was a classic case of critics versus audiences. A lot of critics thought it was too sentimental, a little too on the nose, but audiences who were looking for something with a little more depth absolutely loved it. It really found its people and built a serious cult following that keeps it relevant today. Which brings us to right now, because those ideas that audiences connected with back then, they feel more urgent than ever. In a lot of ways, this movie feels like it was ahead of its time, almost like a prophecy for the world we're living in now. Just think about all the conversations we have now about diversity and inclusion. Powder is a perfect allegory for that. The lesson is so clear. The things that make us different aren't flaws, they aren't threats, they're gifts. They're what make the world interesting, and we should be celebrating them, not fearing them. And empathy, man, in a world that feels so divided, where everyone is in their own corner, this movie's main theme feels like an antidote. Just imagine for a second, if we could truly feel what another person feels. It's a radical idea, and it could change everything about how we deal with each other. And remember that deer scene? It wasn't just about empathy between two people. It was a huge statement about our connection to the entire natural world. The idea that we need to respect all life feels incredibly urgent as we face all the environmental challenges we have today. So when you strip it all down, the whole movie is basically an invitation. It's asking you to look beyond the surface of things, to try and connect on a much deeper level, and to just maybe embrace the idea that we're all in this together. The ending is famous for being pretty mystical. Powder realizes this world just isn't ready for him, but he doesn't die, he transcends. He basically becomes pure energy, merging with a bolt of lightning. It's a really beautiful metaphor for returning to the source, of becoming one with the universe again. And if you take away all the sci-fi, all the drama, this is what you're left with. This is the truth at the center of Powder. The most amazing abilities we can have aren't reading minds or controlling electricity. They are compassion, empathy, and acceptance. Those are the real human superpowers. So we'll leave you with this. The whole film is a challenge. It's an invitation to change the channel of how you see the world and how you see other people. So the question it leaves us with is a personal one. If you changed your channel right now, what or who would you finally start to see clearly?